I never believed in ghosts, but that all changed when I moved into my new house with my girlfriend. We were ecstatic about the move, excited to start fresh and make new memories. The house was perfect, a beautiful, newly renovated two-story home with a big yard and a picturesque view of the nearby forest. As soon as we moved in, strange things started happening. Doors would open and close on their own, objects would move from one place to another, and we would hear strange noises in the middle of the night. I tried to brush it off as the creaks and groans of an old house, but my girlfriend was convinced that something wasn't right. One night, I woke up to find my girlfriend sitting up in bed, staring into the darkness. When I asked her what was wrong, she whispered that she could feel someone watching us. I laughed it off, trying to reassure her that it was just her imagination, but as I looked around the room, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was right. It was as if the air around us was thick with an unexplainable tension. Over the next few weeks, the strange occurrences only intensified. We would wake up to find scratches on the walls, strange symbols etched into the floorboards, and the overwhelming feeling of being watched. I started to dread coming home after work, knowing that there would be something waiting for us. One day, while my girlfriend was out running errands, I decided to investigate the strange happenings in the house. I grabbed a flashlight and started searching the attic, where most of the noises seemed to be coming from. As I climbed the stairs, the air grew colder and the feeling of dread intensified. When I finally reached the attic, I shined my flashlight around the room, searching for any signs of what could be causing the disturbances. As I scanned the room, I noticed a small door tucked away in the corner. It was old and weathered, and it looked like it hadn't been opened in years. I approached the door slowly, my heart racing in my chest. I pushed it open, and as I did, a gust of icy wind hit me in the face. Inside the room, there was nothing but darkness, and I could hear strange whispers coming from the shadows. I tried to turn and run, but something grabbed me from behind and pulled me into the room. I screamed and struggled, but it was no use. The darkness consumed me, and I could feel the presence of something sinister all around me. As I tried to fight my way out, I realized that we were not alone in the house. Something evil was lurking in the shadows, and it was only a matter of time before it revealed itself. My heart raced as I realized that we were in grave danger. We had to get out of the house before it was too late. But as we made our way down the stairs, we heard the sound of something coming from the basement. My girlfriend and I looked at each other in terror, knowing that we had to face our fears head-on. We slowly descended the stairs, each step bringing us closer to the unknown terror that awaited us. As we reached the bottom of the stairs, we saw it, a figure looming in the darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. We froze, paralyzed with fear, as it stepped out of the shadows and into the light. We had found the villain, and it was unlike anything we could have ever imagined. The figure was tall and thin, with long, spindly limbs and a face that was twisted and distorted beyond recognition. It let out a low, guttural growl, and we could feel the hairs on the back of our necks stand on end. I tried to take a step back, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen in place, unable to tear my eyes away from the grotesque creature in front of me. It took another step forward, and I could feel its cold breath on my face. Suddenly, my girlfriend screamed, and I snapped out of my trance. I grabbed her hand, and we turned and ran as fast as we could, up the stairs and out of the house. We didn't stop running until we were far away from the house, our hearts pounding in our chests. As we caught our breath, we looked back at the house, half expecting to see the creature following us. But there was nothing there, just an empty, silent house. For weeks after that, we couldn't shake the feeling of dread that clung to us like a shadow. Every time we drove past the house, we could feel its eyes on us, watching our every move. We tried to forget about it, to move on with our lives, but it was always there, lurking in the back of our minds. We knew that we could never go back to that house, that we could never be safe there. Years later, as we sat around a campfire with our friends, we told them the story of the haunted house. They laughed and joked, dismissing our fears as nothing more than an overactive imagination. But as we looked out into the darkness, we knew the truth. We knew that there was something out there, waiting for its next victim. And we knew that we were lucky to have escaped with our lives. Years went by, and I thought that I had left the horror of that house behind. I moved on with my life, got a job, married my girlfriend and started a family. But the memory of that house never left me, and it crept back into my thoughts whenever I was alone. Then, one day, I received a phone call from an old friend. He had heard that I was looking for a new house, and he had a property that he wanted to show me. I hesitated at first, but curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet him the following day. As soon as I saw the house, I knew that something was off. It was a large, imposing building, with dark, foreboding windows that seemed to stare right through me. But my friend assured me that it was a great deal, and I couldn't resist the temptation. We moved in a few days later, and everything seemed fine at first. But as the days went by, strange things started to happen. Doors would slam shut on their own, and I would hear footsteps in the hallway late at night. Sometimes, I would catch glimpses of movement out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. My wife started to notice it too. She told me that she felt like she was being watched, and that she had heard whispering in the middle of the night. I tried to tell her that it was just our imagination, but deep down, I knew that something was wrong. One night, I woke up to find my wife standing by the window, staring out into the darkness. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't answer. She just kept staring, as if she was in a trance. That was when I saw it, a figure standing outside, its eyes fixed on us. It was the same creature that we had seen in the haunted house all those years ago, and it was back to torment us once again. My heart raced as I watched the creature, its twisted face leering at us through the glass. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, as if it was made of lead. I looked over at my wife, and she was still staring out the window, completely unresponsive. I knew that I had to act fast. I stumbled out of bed, my legs feeling weak and unsteady, and made my way to the window. The creature was still there, its eyes locked on me, and I could feel its malevolent energy filling the room. Suddenly, the window shattered, and I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I looked down to see that I was bleeding, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room, my wife sitting next to me. She told me that I had been found lying on the floor, unconscious, with a deep cut on my arm. She had called for an ambulance, and they had taken me to the hospital. I tried to tell her about the creature, but she didn't believe me. She thought that I was hallucinating, or that I had just had a nightmare. But I knew the truth. That house was haunted, and we were in grave danger. We moved out of the house the next day, but the memory of that creature stayed with me for a long time. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still out there, waiting for its next victim. And even though I tried to forget about it, I knew that I would never be able to escape the horror of that haunted house. After we left the haunted house, my wife and I moved into a small apartment across town. It was a relief to be away from the oppressive energy of that old house, and we were both looking forward to starting fresh. But as time passed, I started to notice that my wife was acting strange. She would often stare off into space, as if she was lost in thought. And sometimes, when we were alone, would catch a glimpse of something dark and sinister lurking behind her eyes. I tried to ignore it at first, telling myself that I was just being paranoid. But the more I watched her, the more convinced I became that something was wrong. And then, one night, I woke up to find her standing over me, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. I tried to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. I felt a cold, clammy hand wrap around my neck, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor, my wife nowhere to be seen. I stumbled to my feet and stumbled through the apartment, my head pounding and my heart racing. And then I saw her, sitting in the corner of the room, her eyes still glowing with that eerie light. I tried to talk to her, to get her to snap out of whatever trance she was in, but she just stared at me, her expression blank and emotionless. It was like she was no longer my wife, but a vessel for some dark, malevolent entity. I knew then that I had to leave. I packed my bags and fled the apartment, never looking back. But I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had taken hold of my wife was still out there, waiting to strike again. I spent the next few months moving from place to place, always looking over my shoulder, always on the lookout for any sign of danger. And then, one day, I received a letter in the mail, with no return address. It was a photo of that old haunted house, the one that my wife and I had left behind. And scrawled across the bottom in blood-red letters were the words, "I'm still here." I tried to shake off the fear that crept over me when I received that ominous letter, but it was no use. I knew that whatever had haunted us in that old house had followed us, and it was determined to destroy us. I spent weeks trying to figure out what to do, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I started seeing strange figures lurking in the shadows, hearing whispers in the dead of night. And then, one night, I woke up to find my bedroom door creaking open. My heart thundered in my chest as I watched in terror as a dark figure slinked into my room. It was the same creature that had haunted us in that old house, but it looked even more twisted and malevolent than before. I tried to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. I could feel its malevolent energy filling the room, and I knew that it was going to kill me. But then, a strange feeling washed over me, like something was fighting against the darkness. With a burst of strength I didn't know I had, I grabbed a nearby lamp and swung it at the creature. It let out a bone-chilling shriek and vanished into thin air. I knew then that I had to act fast. I packed my bags and fled the city, heading for the countryside in the hopes of finding a safe haven. But even as I settled into my new home, I knew that I couldn't let my guard down. The darkness was still out there, waiting for me. For months, I lived in constant fear, never sure when the creature would come for me. And then, one night, I heard a strange tapping on my window. When I turned to look, I saw the creature staring back at me, its twisted face leering in the moonlight. With a scream, I ran for my life, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that I was no match for the darkness that had been following me. And even though I tried to escape it, I knew that it would always be there, waiting to claim me as its next victim. As the days went on, the darkness continued to close in around me. I knew that I couldn't keep running forever, that I needed to find a way to fight back against the entity that had been haunting me. It wasn't until I stumbled upon an old book in the town's library that I finally found the answer. The book detailed ancient rituals used to banish evil entities, and I knew that it was my last hope. With trembling hands, I gathered the necessary ingredients and began the ritual. I could feel the energy in the room shift, as if the darkness was trying to stop me from completing the ritual. But I pushed through, determined to banish the creature once and for all. And then, with a burst of light, the creature was gone. I was left standing in the middle of my living room, trembling and exhausted, but finally free from the entity's grasp. From that day on, I vowed to never underestimate the power of the darkness that lurked in the shadows. And though I had managed to banish the entity, I knew that there would always be another, waiting to take its place. But I was ready. I had the knowledge and the tools to fight back, to protect myself and those I loved from the horrors that lay in wait. And though the darkness would continue to threaten me, I was ready to face it head-on, no matter what the cost.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more great content. Your support helps us continue to create and share valuable information with you. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.